Hello once again YouTube, Chris the Nightbringer here bringing you some StarMade new in Fleetworks, and today we are taking a look at some of the ships that I have done a systems overhaul. Recently, or in the last video I should say, I mentioned that I would be doing an overhaul on some of the systems because I calculated them incorrectly. Basically in EVE, not only are ship stats determined by the ship itself, but by your skill at flying those particular types of ships, or interfacing with those types of systems. So all of these ships have been given a massive stat boost in some respects, not so much in other respects. I've done 3 ships so far, and I was well on my way to completing the 4th one, but I ran into some trouble, and I'll explain that in a bit. And this is the sector that I've set up, and I may have mentioned this in the last video. This is the sector that I set up to show off all the ships that I've completed so far. Not taking into account future updates to the game. All of these ships that you see before you will be getting the stat update, which means that they'll be more viable in legitimate PvP situations, which is what I'm hoping will be accomplished with this update, because some of these ships are going to be getting massive stat bonuses. Some of them will not be. So, let's take a look at some of the changes. First, we'll start off with the Executioner and the color schemes that you see here. There's 12 ships that I completed on live stream. If you guys want to see me work on this type of stuff, you should definitely check me out. For the most part, I try and stream starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if a few minutes after 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time I have not started streaming, there is a good chance that I may not start streaming. I really don't want to be late, and well, sometimes I just don't stream every day. So, we have the Standard Edition. This is a ship version that you should already have if you downloaded it in the past. This is what is available currently. Then we have the Amatar Mandate, the Artichaper. I'm getting a little bit of lag. I'm jumping around a bit. It's kind of annoying. Maybe it's because I'm looking at all those ships. We have the Artichaper, the Blood Raiders, which is supposed to be a ship that is painted with blood. I don't actually know if it's real blood, but it could be. It could be. The Court Chamberlain, Equilibrium of Mankind, the Imperial Edition, right? And before, the Imperial Edition was going to be a very bright yellow paint scheme on top of a white, porcelain armor backing, I guess. I don't know. That's kind of the colors, or the feel you get when you look at these ships in EVE Online. And it was supposed to be really bright gold. Much more gold than the Standard Edition. And it turns out that EVE's renderer, and among other changes, changed how this ship looks. So it's actually all just like that nice, solid, bronzy, brassy, goldy look. Almost all the way through, except for like the mechanical bits where these black parts are. Then we have the Cador Edition, the Khanid Edition, the Core Azor, the Imperial Navy, Sarum, and Tashmirkan. So, I know that a lot of you guys want the Imperial Navy Edition. I will release this soon. I don't know when. It's really awesome. It looks much better than it did before. This used to look like... Oh god, I bumped into the ship. Oh wow. How did I make that move so much just by bumping into it with this tiny little ship? That's crazy. That is kind of crazy. Anyway, there was a lot of gray underneath, and it looked kind of crap, like all of the black turned gray. And there's some nice black and white contrast on top, but the gray underneath kind of ruined it for me. But that's how it was displayed in EVE. Well, they changed that. It's much more stark contrast, and there's pretty much no gray left on the ship, and it looks really good. I like the way this ship looks now. So this is what you'll be getting if you want the Imperial Edition. It looks freaking fabulous. The only version that you will not be getting your hands on is the Khanid Edition. I have personally chosen this as my own color scheme that I'll be keeping for myself and friends, and you might get lucky in the future and you might be able to get a version of the Khanid through some sort of giveaway. I don't know. I have no idea. I've never done prizes before, but that's a possibility. So those are all the color schemes. Real quick, let's take a look inside the ship and look at the stat changes that I've performed. So we will jump down into the ship, and you can see the stats there on the right. I'll give you a second so that you can look at them, or pause the video if you have it on a high enough level of quality. So, overall, I have utilized the space in these spaceships much more efficiently. I think I did better with things like power generation and all that because, well, I just determined, you know, the best possible way for each of these ships. And real quick, I'll let you know what changed. So we have, on the Executioner, 20 more mass, 100 more thrust. The thrust to mass ratio has stayed relatively the same. There is been changes to the shields. Now keep in mind, shields in the last update got doubled for each capacitor. So each ship pretty much has double the shields that they used to, or these ships particularly have double the shields that they used to, at the very least, when they were originally released. So, this ship has 11,000 more shields than when it was released. It also has 100 more shield regen, 100,000 more power capacity, and 20,000 more power regen. That's a pretty big boost in terms of power capacity and power regen for this ship. To be completely honest, it's probably not needed. The ship performed fine without it before, but it's there now. On top of that, it should be noted that these values are all very relative. They're not approximate, so I'm just giving you kind of an idea as to how much more I've fitted to the ship with these values. Let's see. In terms of jump drives and scanners, I will be developing a new rating system. This is going to be my own personal way of rating a jump drive or scanner. If we go into the Entity Structure tab, and we go down to Scanner System, for example, we can see that it tells us the module blocks over the module blocks needed, and we have 236 out of 322 for the scanner system. Now, if you want to find out the percentage of that 322 blocks, then you divide 236 by 322, and then you multiply it by 100, and it will give you a percent. This percentage is my personal rating system, and it comes in at 73.3%. So that's a 73.3 scanner rating. That's just what I'm gonna call it. There's no like need to like assume that this is like some sort of official thing. I'm just basing this off the 5% of the mass of the ship that is required to be scanners in order for it to achieve like that like nice niche of efficiency or whatever. So that is the scanner system. The jump drives are 344 out of 322, and that's actually a jump drive system that goes beyond the 5% of the mass, bringing it to 106.8 jump drive rating. So that's pretty solid. That's actually really good. The other two ships that I have don't come anywhere close to that. So this ship right here is actually really good for scanning and jumping, and it has a really awesome thrust to mass ratio, if I recall correctly. And it's just a really nice, sleek ship that's meant to, you know, do shit nice and fast. It's just, that's what it's intended to do. And you probably got that impression by looking at it. So real quick, let me just get out. We will jump into the Amar Imperor. I will give you a second to check out the stats there. Right? And we will cover the changes that I have performed on this ship. So, I have redone the gray panel in the front. It is now black. This is due to Eve's change to some of the rendering mechanics of the game, as well as just a visual update. They've kind of updated some of the ships, and in fact, they've completely swapped some colors on some ships completely. It's kind of crazy. But they are making the ships look better with each, you know, iteration, so that's really neat. I've also gotten rid of the gray tips on these wingy bits in the back here, the exhaust or, I don't know, nozzle flaps, whatever. And I got rid of the gray there as well. So there's almost no gray externally on this ship at all. Internally, I have removed this room on this side. There is no longer a room on this side. I made that an area dedicated to the armor bonus systems. The other bed was moved into this room, right? I've added a door to the cargo bay, and I removed the engineering section and pushed the jump drive computer closer forward. The reason I did that is because, frankly, on a ship this small, I don't really see them having the capabilities of fitting an engineering section on the ship where you could actually like physically walk up to these modules and, you know, tweak them or whatever. It just doesn't seem viable to me. So there you have it. That's the new engineering section. It's underneath the deck. If you want to access these areas, they're underneath the deck now. So you don't have to worry about those really weird orange lights taking up space in the back here. So those are the visual changes. In terms of stats, This ship has 100 less mass, which means it's even more efficient than it was before, and that's probably because I got rid of that room and a lot of extra blocks that were just not supposed to be there. There is 100 more mass and a better thrust-to-mass ratio. There is about 6,000 more shields than when this ship was released, 125 more shield regen, 32,000 more power capacity, and 30,000 more power regen. There is a higher turning speed for the X and Y axis, so it can turn slightly faster X and Y axes. The jump drive is 64.5%, so that's 64.5 rating for the jump drive. And the scanners is 38.5%. So this thing is actually kind of shit for scanners, and it's probably average for jump drives. It probably can jump out of an area relatively decently. Bigger ships are going to have much shittier jump drive ratings. Like, no doubt. The jump drive rating is based off EVE Online's align time, which tells you how fast a ship can turn 180 degrees, and I believe it's 180 degrees. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just accelerating to jump speeds, because they have to accelerate to like 75% total thrust before they can jump away. So I'm wondering if it has anything to do with turning, because it is align time. Maybe it is align time. Maybe it does have to do with turning. Anyway, that's what it's based off of. So the higher the align time, the slower the jump drive is going to be on the ship. So if you want to know how that's worked out, that's how it is worked out. So that's the Imperator, and that has been updated. And I have already posted the update for the Executioner, the Imperator, and the Breachers. So all of those ships have been updated. If you want to get the updated version, you can find links for those down below in the description. Real quick, let's check out the Breacher, which should be somewhere below us. Yes? No? There it is. Visually, a lot of the gray areas of the hull have been made black. I'm not really sure how much I like it. It's okay. It's not the best. I kind of like the gray areas on the back here, and I might revert it if I think I need to. It's okay, though. Minmatar have been getting some visual updates recently, it seems. So, you can see the stats there on the side, and while I read off the changes, you can take note of those if you care. I have added 200 more mass with these system changes. There is 1,900 more thrust, which is a big update to the thrust, and about 0.6 more on the thrust-to-mass ratio. There is now 2,500 or so more shields, or shield capacity. There's 500 more shield regen, 70,000 more power capacity, and 32,000 more power regen, which is pretty big. I think it's a nice increase in capabilities for this ship. This ship has a 96.8 jump drive rating, and it has a 51.6 scanner rating. So scanners, sort of average, and the jump drives are pretty good on this ship. It's almost the full 5%. So this thing has a pretty good jump drive system on it. In terms of, you know, what it's capable of. I really like this. I love filling the systems and figuring it out and tweaking it. It's really fun. In case you are wondering, scanners is no longer based off directional scan. They are proportionate to a value in EVE Online called scan resolution. Scan resolution in EVE Online tells you how easy it is for you to lock on to another target. Of course, there's more mechanics involved with that. You know, a bigger ship has a harder time locking onto a smaller ship, and that's called scan resolution. But scan... God, I forgot what it was called. I literally just said it, and I forgot what it was called. Scan... It's not scan resolution, it's scan... Oh my god, I don't even know. I literally just... Like, it's gone. I cannot think of what I just said. Scan... it's, I don't know, something scan related. I'm really mad that I just forgot what it said, called. Oh my god. How did I forget that? Anyway, it used to be based off directional scan, and I made the scanning capabilities across all ships the same. 3% of the mass was going to be dedicated to scanning systems, which means that all ships were going to be able to scan at the very least with, you know, that capability. But I'm changing that now. And scanners will have the ships will have proportional scanners comparable to the ones on EVE and all that crap. Blah, blah, blah. Math. And basically, some ships are just going to be better at scanning now than other ships. This is only going to apply so long as there is no sort of targeting mechanism introduced into StarMade. And I don't think there will be, based on, you know, the nice nature of just straight up attacking enemies. Maybe it will come into play when it comes along with turrets and their advancement in the game, but I don't really foresee a targeting mechanic in StarMade, so hopefully we don't have to worry about that changing and forcing me to do another overhaul on these ships. Real quick, let me just take a look at the Estero. I have done some visual updates for the Estero, and I started doing the stat overhaul on the Estero, but I ran into a problem. You can see here that I've got the force field blocks in use now on the drone bay door. You can see that there's a lot of exposed systems, adding detail to the flooring and stuff, and I think this is bringing it more in line with, you know, the level of detail that I'm putting on Minmatar ships and stuff. All sorts of stuff. Let's see. And a lot of these blocks are like now scanners. I haven't really changed the layout of the ship. In terms of systems, I have done my best to incorporate the systems. This ship is supposed to have 500,000 power capacity, 80,000 power regen, and 2,900 thrust over 1,238 mass, so you can figure out that thrust to mass ratio. I don't remember what it is. Basically, I was running into a major problem with this ship. The piercing effect module is supposed to be placed on this ship as a defensive bonus. This ship is supposed to have a 20% bonus to armor resistance. So I placed the piercing effect module into the ship. And in case I don't actually know, I know that piercing effect and punch through got changed recently. So if I'm using the wrong block, please let me know, because I don't know what they do anymore. I don't know if they updated the information in the shop. I just know that I was using piercing effect before, and that I'm going to continue doing so until I find out whether I made a mistake. But as far as I understood, before, piercing effect was used as an armor buffer. It was specifically put on ships to increase the damage that they could take. Whereas the punch through, used as a defensive effect, was there to prevent an enemy from using punch through and a piercing on your own ship. So I have no idea. Tell me in the comments below what you know about this situation. I may or may not have to change this. This ship is going to be refit a second time because I screwed up. Currently, the cap on armor piercing is 15%. You cannot get more than a 15% buff on the armor, right? And I didn't know that, so I kept adding because I'm supposed to hit a 20% cap on the armor buff. And I did reach that, and I can show you here. It says 20% efficiency, and that's shared across all block groups, right? So that's pretty good. It's just I can only reach 15%. So if you change your config file to allow a 20% bonus to piercing effect, then you'll get the full effect on this ship. The thing that I messed up was I was so focused on getting this value right and trying to figure out why I couldn't go beyond that 15% that I completely forgot to put shielding on the ship. The ship is supposed to have at least, I think, oh man, I'm not even sure, 40,000 shields, I think. I could be wrong. That's a big number for a ship this small in terms of my system. But that's what I'm supposed to be putting on the ship. I forgot all about it, so I have to strip the entire thing of most of its modules again and refit it so that I can get an accurate, you know, ratio for every system on there. It's gonna be a pain in the ass, but it will be worth it, and this ship will come out on top. So, thank you for watching. I've gone far too long on this video. It really wasn't supposed to be this long. If you want to see more, subscribe for more. It should be noted that I am working on a whole bunch of random stuff on the side. I am refitting the interior of the Dragoon in preparation for the docking system, as well as a better interior in general. Personally, I hate this interior. When I update it, it's going to be a lot more smoother. It's not going to be as clunky feeling in some areas. It's going to make more sense, and it's not going to be so much... There's going to be less hallways, because the hallways are dominating the shit out of this design, and it's really bad. So I'm going to be updating the Dragoon. With that, all three of these ships, the Imperator, the Executioner, and the Minmatar, have been released already, the updated versions. So if you want to get those, go on over to the StarMade docs. The links will be in the description below, and you will be able to get an updated version of those ships, and they will perform better, I promise. So, I plan on, again, redoing all these ships. Stay tuned in the future for those update videos. So long as I'm not creating something, I will be working on this. So, thank you again. Leave your feedback down below, and I will see you all next time. Hello once again YouTube, Chris the Nightbringer here, bringing you some StarMade new in Fleetworks, and today we are taking a look at some of the ships that I have done a systems overhaul. Recently, or in the last video I should say, I mentioned that I would be doing an overhaul on some of the systems because I calculated them incorrectly. Basically, in EVE, not only are ship stats determined by the ship itself, but by your skill at flying those particular types of ships. For the most part, I try and stream starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if a few minutes after 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time I have not started streaming, there is a good chance that I may not start streaming. I really don't want to be late, and well, sometimes I just don't stream every day. So we have the Standard Edition. This is a ship version that you should already have if you downloaded it in the past. This is what is available currently. Then we have the Amatar Mandate. The Artichaper, I'm getting a little bit of lag. I'm jumping around a bit. It's kind of all of these ships that you see before you will be getting the stat update, which means that they'll be more viable in legitimate PvP situations, which is what I'm hoping will be accomplished with this update, because some of these ships are going to be getting massive stat bonuses. Some of them will not be. So, let's take a look at some of the changes. First, we'll start off with the Executioner and the color schemes that you see here. There's 12 ships that I completed on live stream. If you guys want to see me work on this type of stuff, you should definitely check me out. Annoying. Maybe it's because I'm looking at all those ships. We have the Artichaper, the Blood Raiders, which is supposed to be a ship that is painted with blood. I don't actually know if it's real blood, but it could be. It could be. The Court Chamberlain, Equilibrium of Mankind, the Imperial Edition. Right, and before, the Imperial Edition was going to be a very bright yellow paint scheme on top of a white, you know, porcelain armor backing, I guess, or interfacing with those types of systems. So, all of these ships have been given a massive stat boost in some respects, not so much in other respects. I have done 3 ships so far, and I was well on my way to completing the 4th one, but I ran into some trouble, and I'll explain that in a bit. And this is the sector that I've set up, and I may have mentioned this in the last video. This is the sector that I set up to show off all the ships that I've completed so far, not taking into account future updates to the game.